Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
Yeah, a bit of a change of pace.
Usually we're looking at tech or, geopolitics, some macro trend in the economy. Today, we are looking at, well, us.
Right.
Specifically, the biology of the human abdomen.
Which sounds a bit clinical when you put it that way. I promise it's more interesting than it sounds.
It does. But I have to admit, I was looking at the stack of research you sent over for this whole Science of Shred collection, and my initial reaction was, honestly, skepticism.
I get that.
I see belly fat and fast results in the same sentence, and my brain just instantly goes to scam.
For sure.
I'm thinking, late night infomercials. I'm thinking of influencers peddling those laxative teas.
The detox teas.
The detox teas. And I'm thinking of that one weird trick that doctors apparently hate.
Mm.
So my question is there actually any rigorous science here, or are we just, polishing up some generic weight loss advice?
No, that's a totally valid starting point. And that skepticism is, I'd argue, healthy. Because probably 95% of what you see on social media regarding belly fat is physiologically impossible. It's just junk.
Right. Marketing.
Exactly. But that's precisely why we need to do this deep dive. We're not looking at the hacks. We're not looking at the marketing fluff. We're looking at the mechanism.
The mechanism. Okay, I like that.
Right. Because the central premise of all this research, and we are talking about peer-reviewed papers here, these aren't blogs, is that not all fat is created equal.
Yeah, feels important.
It's the whole game. We tend to think of fat as like this single storage tank for excess energy.
You eat too much, the tank gets bigger. You eat less, it shrinks. Simple.
Yeah, simple physics, but the biology is so much messier and frankly way more interesting than that.
So the sources make this hard distinction right off the bat between subcutaneous and visceral fat.
They do.
Now, I think I know the basics. A lot of people probably do. One is under the skin, one is deeper. But why does that really matter? If I'm carrying, say, 20 pounds of extra weight, why does my body care where it's parked?
It cares because of location and activity. Those are the two key words.
Okay.
So let's start with the stuff you can pinch. That's subcutaneous fat.
The love handles.
The love handles, the stuff on your arms, your leg, it's sitting right there under your skin. And biologically, it's actually pretty well-behaved.
Well-behaved fat.
Yeah, you could call it that. It's largely inert. It's just stored energy waiting to be used. It doesn't cause a ton of problems on its own, metabolically speaking. But visceral fat, that's the villain in this story.
The deep fat.
The deep fat, the hidden fat, it's stored inside your abdominal cavity, and it's physically packed in and around your organs, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines.
So it's not on the outside, it's on the inside.
Exactly. And the reason the research highlights this, the reason it's so critical, isn't because it pushes your stomach out or makes your jeans tight. I mean, it does that, but that's not the problem.
That's just a symptom.
That's the symptom. The problem is that visceral fat acts less like a storage tank and more like an active endocrine organ.
An organ. So you're saying a lump of fat is producing things, like a gland.
Constantly. That's the key. It is metabolically active. It's pumping out these inflammatory compounds called cytokines, things like interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha.
Okay, hold on. Pause right there. Interleukin-6. I've heard that term before, but it's usually in the context of, being sick. When your body is fighting an infection.
That's exactly right. It's a pro-inflammatory cytokine. So basically, visceral fat is constantly sending out a signal to your immune system that you are under attack.
This is a false alarm.
It's a constant low-grade false alarm. It creates a state of chronic systemic inflammation. If you have high levels of visceral fat, your body is, in effect, fighting a low-level infection 24/7.
That's a horrifying thought. If you have what people call a beer belly, physiologically, your body thinks it's in a state of crisis all the time.
It's under significant chronic stress, yes. And here's the kicker, and this is a concept known as the portal theory. Because of where this fat is located, physically touching your liver and intestines, it doesn't just release this stuff into the general bloodstream. It dumps these fatty acids and inflammatory markers directly into the portal vein.
The portal vein. That's the main superhighway into the liver, right?
It's the main line. It's the highway that carries all the blood from your digestive tract straight to the liver to be processed.
So it's a direct shot.
It's a direct shot. You're not just releasing fat into the general circulation where it can be diluted and dealt with. You are mainlining toxicity directly into your body's metabolic engine room.
Wow. Okay, so you're not just putting a drop of poison in the swimming pool, you're injecting it straight into the filter.
That is the perfect analogy. And that's why the link to type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, and especially heart disease is so incredibly strong. It's not just being overweight. It's a specific condition called lipotoxicity.
Lipotoxicity, that sounds like a heavy metal band. I'm assuming it just means fat poisoning.
Pretty much. It's when fat accumulates in places it absolutely should not be, like inside your liver cells or your pancreas cells, and it starts actively interfering with how those cells are supposed to function.
Okay, that changes the whole framing of this conversation.
Yeah.
We're not talking about trying to lose weight just to look good at the beach.
Not at all.
We're trying to stop a rogue organ from actively poisoning our liver.
That is the stake here. Yes. And that is why the science of shred isn't about vanity. It's about metabolic rescue.
Okay, I am sufficiently terrified. The why is very, very well established. So let's pivot to the how.
Let's do it.
Because if a listener is sitting there thinking, great, I'm toxic, now what? The usual advice is just the generic eat less, move more. But if the biology is this complex, the solution has to be more nuanced than that, right?
It has to be. Eat less, move more is, I mean, it's technically true in a physics sense, calories in, calories out. But it fails in a biological sense because it completely ignores hormones and the type of food you're eating.
It's too simple.
It's too simple. If you want results fast, and by fast I mean efficiently, without wasting years spinning your wheels, you do not start on the treadmill. You start in the kitchen.
The kitchen versus the treadmill. The eternal battle.
And the kitchen wins, hands down, every single time. There's an old saying, you can't outtrain a bad diet. We've all heard it, but we need to really understand the math.
Lay on me.
Okay, so to burn off the calories in a single large slice of, say, pepperoni pizza, we're talking maybe 300, 400 calories, you would have to run at a moderate pace for nearly 45 minutes to an hour.
And that's assuming you don't then go home and eat something else because you're absolutely starving from the run.
Exactly. Your appetite goes through the roof. It's a losing battle. But let's look at the mechanism. The fundamental requirement for any fat loss is a caloric deficit. You must consume less energy than your body expends. That's non-negotiable.
That's the physics.
That's the physics. However, the source material is very, very specific here. Not all deficits are created equal if you just starve yourself, or if you create that deficit by eating, nothing but low-calorie junk food.
The famous Twinkie diet. A professor actually did that, right?
He did, and he lost weight, proving the calorie deficit model. But here's the thing. He likely lost a significant amount of precious muscle mass, and his metabolic markers were probably a complete mess. To target visceral fat specifically, and to protect your lean muscle tissue, it must be a high-protein deficit.
High protein. We hear this constantly. Eat your protein, bro. It's a fitness mantra. But let's actually get into the weeds. Why is protein the magic variable here? Is it just about building muscle?
That's a huge part of it, which we'll get to, but there are actually 3 distinct powerful mechanisms at play just on the nutrition side. The first one is pure thermodynamics. We need to talk about T.
TEF, the thermic effect of food.
Right. This is essentially the energy cost of digestion. Think of your digestive system as a processing plant. When a delivery of raw materials food comes in, the factory has to turn on the lights, run the machinery, and pay the workers to break that food down.
So it costs me energy to get energy out of food.
Precisely. But different foods have wildly different processing costs. Fats, for example, are very simple chemically. They look a lot like our own body fat, so the body can just sort of slide them into storage with almost zero effort. The metabolic tax on digesting fat is maybe 0 to 3%.
So for every 100 calories of butter I eat, my body gets to keep like 97 to 100 of those calories.
Incredibly efficient, right, for storage anyway. Carbohydrates are a little more complex to break down, maybe a 5 to 10% tax, depending on the fiber content. But protein.
Here we go.
Protein is a complex, 3-dimensional, folded molecular structure. It's like a Lego castle that's been super glued together.
So the body has to bring in the sledgehammers and the crowbars.
It has to do serious, energy-intensive work. It has to uncoil the peptide bonds. It has to strip off the nitrogen molecule, a process called deamination. And then it has to convert the remaining carbon skeleton into something usable. That is an expensive metabolic process. The teeth of protein is upwards of 20 to 30%.
20 to 30, that is huge. That's not a rounding error.
No, it's a significant metabolic advantage. If you eat 100 calories of lean chicken breast, your body might only actually see 70 or 80 of those calories as usable energy. The rest is literally burned off as heat during the work of digestion.
So purely by swapping, say, a bagel for an egg white omelet, even if the calories on the label are exactly the same, I am effectively creating a calorie deficit just through the act of digestion.
You are increasing your metabolic rate just by eating.
Yes.
It's a freebie.
Okay, that's mechanism one, thermodynamics. That's a big one. What's number two?
Satiety, which is just a fancy word for feeling full and satisfied.
Hunger management.
Hunger management. Because, let's be honest, the reason most diets fail isn't because people don't understand math. It's because they get uncontrollably hungry. And hunger is a primal biological drive that will eventually overpower willpower every single time.
Willpower is a finite resource. Hunger is relentless.
Exactly. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, especially with all the news lately about these new weight loss drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy.
The GLP-1 agonists.
You got it. Those drugs work by mimicking a hormone in our gut called GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1.
And that hormone tells your brain you're full.
It sends a powerful signal to the hypothalamus in your brain saying, we are full, the search for food is over, stop eating. Well, guess what? Macronutrient is the most powerful natural trigger for the release of GLP-1, and another powerful satiety hormone called PYY.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not the donut.
It is not the donut, it's protein. Protein triggers these satiety hormones more potently and for a longer duration than any other food group. So when you prioritize protein, you aren't just physically filling up your stomach with volume, you are biochemically signaling your brain to turn off the hunger drive.
So you're basically hacking the exact same biological system that these $1,000 a month drugs are using.
Yes.
But you're doing it with chicken and lentils and Greek yogurt.
To a lesser degree, of course, the drugs are much more powerful, but yes, the fundamental mechanism is the same. You are aligning your biology with your goals rather than trying to white-knuckle it against a screaming hunger signal.
Okay, so protein burns more calories to digest, and it turns off the hunger alarm in your brain. Now, there's another nutrient mentioned all over the source material that I feel gets zero love. It's like the unsexy cousin of protein.
Fiber.
The fiber factor.
Yeah.
If protein is the king of fat loss, fiber is the undisputed queen.
And there was a specific statistic in the research that really made me sit up, and I want to make sure I got this right. It was a 5-year study. Yes, the Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center study. It's a landmark paper. They tracked a large group of people over 5 years, and what they found was that for every 10-gram increase in soluble fiber eaten per day.
Soluble fiber. So that's the stuff in like oats and beans and apples.
Exactly. For every 10-gram increase, visceral fat accumulation decreased by 3.7%. Let's just call it nearly 4%.
That is incredible. Just by eating more fiber, not even necessarily changing calories or exercising more, you see a specific reduction in that dangerous deep belly fat.
And 4% might sound small, but over 5 years, when you're talking about the accumulation of this toxic fat, that is a massive biological shift. It's a cumulative effect that prevents the problem from getting worse.
But here comes the reality check. 10 grams doesn't sound like a lot. A cup of black beans has 15. How are we doing as a population on this?
Abysmally. It's a public health failure. The data shows that most Americans get less than half the recommended amount of fiber. The average intake is somewhere around 15 grams a day.
And we should be aiming for what?
Recommendations are usually 25 for women, 38 for men. I'd say aim for 30 as a minimum and push for 40 if you can.
Why is there such a huge gap? Is it just that we collectively hate vegetables? Or is it something more structural?
It's the environment. It's structural. Our grocery stores, our food supply is completely dominated by ultra-processed foods.
Right.
When you process a food, take a whole grain of wheat and mill it into fluffy white flour, what's the very first thing you remove?
The bran and the germ. The fiber.
The fiber. It improves shelf life. It creates that soft, hyper-palatable texture, but it completely guts the nutritional value. We have a huge prevalence of sugar-sweetened beverages which have zero fiber. The modern American diet is, by design, low fiber, high calorie, and engineered to make you eat more.
The sources also mentioned the plate method as a culprit, or I guess the lack of a proper plate method.
Right. Just visualize the traditional American dinner plate. What do you see?
A giant piece of meat, a huge pile of starch mashed potatoes, rice, pasta.
Taking up half the plate?
And then maybe, if you're lucky, A little token spoonful of sad, overcooked green beans in the corner.
The sad green beans, exactly. To hit that fiber goal and to trigger that visceral fat loss mechanism, you have to completely flip that ratio. Half your plate at every meal needs to be non-starchy, fibrous vegetables.
This is the plate.
Half the plate. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens, cauliflower, asparagus. These provide the volume to fill you up. They provide that crucial soluble fiber to bind to bile acids and help excrete fat, and this is critical, they feed your gut microbiome.
Ah, the microbiome. We can't talk about fiber without talking about the bugs in our gut.
We really can't. It's a whole other layer to this. That soluble fiber, it ferments in your large intestine. The bacteria in your gut, they eat it. And as a byproduct, they produce these amazing compounds called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs.
Like a butyrate.
Butyrate is the main one. And guess what butyrate does?
I'm hoping you're going to tell me it burns fat.
It does something even better. It improves insulin sensitivity, and it dramatically reduces systemic inflammation. It literally helps heal the damage that was being caused by the visceral fat we talked about at the beginning.
So it's all connected. The fiber feeds the good bugs. The bugs make the medicine that fights the inflammation from the fat.
Precisely. It's this beautiful, virtuous cycle. So we fix the kitchen first. We up the protein to leverage TEF and stay full. We up the fiber to chemically fight visceral fat and improve gut health. That's the fuel. Now, we can talk about the engine.
Training smarter at home.
Yes.
I love this part because I think there's this huge mental barrier for so many people. They think, if I'm not sweating in a crowded gym with thousands of dollars of equipment, or if I'm not hiring a personal trainer for $100 an hour, it doesn't really count.
That is a total misconception, and it stops so many people from even starting. The science of shred absolutely confirms you can hit your goals in your living room with your own body weight. You do not need a membership. But, this is a really important but, you do need intensity.
So we're not talking about just doing a few jumping jacks during the commercial breaks of a TV show.
No. We are focusing on efficiency. And the protocol that stands out in the research time and time again is HIIT, high-intensity interval training.
Why? I feel like HII had this huge moment a few years ago, and now the pendulum is swinging, and some people are saying it's too stressful. Why is it better than just going for a long, steady jog?
It comes down to two things: time and hormonal response. First, the time issue. If you have an hour to go for a jog, that's great. Jogging is fantastic for you. But most people, especially busy professionals, say they don't have time.
I don't have time is the #1 excuse.
Always. HII allows you to get a massive metabolic benefit in just 15 or 20 minutes.
What is physically happening in those 20 minutes that's so different from a 60-minute jog?
It's all about creating an oxygen debt. When you push your body to near maximum effort, I'm talking a 30-second sprint where you genuinely cannot say a full sentence, you are creating a massive metabolic disturbance. You are depleting your immediate energy stores, your oxygen stores, you're building up lactate in the muscles.
And then your body has to clean up that mess.
Right. The workout isn't really the 20 minutes of work. The real magic happens after you stop. Your body has to work overtime to restore homeostasis, to get back to baseline. It has to replenish oxygen, clear out that lactate, repair muscle damage. This entire recovery process consumes a ton of energy. It's called EPOC.
Excess post-exercise oxygen consumption.
You got it.
The afterburn effect.
Exactly. You are burning a significant number of extra calories for hours, sometimes up to 24 hours, after the workout is finished. You just don't get that same magnitude of afterburn from a steady-state walk or a light jog.
So for the busy professional, this is the ultimate return on investment play. A huge metabolic return for a small-time investment.
That's the idea, yes. But, and this is a big but that the research is clear on, you cannot just do cardio, even high-intensity cardio. If you only do cardio and you're eating in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight, but you risk losing a significant amount of that precious muscle mass along with the fat.
Which brings us to resistance training. And again, the skepticism kicks in for the at-home person. Can I really build muscle doing push-ups in my living room? Don't I need a heavy barbell on my back?
You need resistance. Your muscles are pretty dumb in this respect. They don't know if you're pushing a $500 barbell or if you're pushing your own body weight against the force of gravity. All they know is tension and time under tension.
So it's about making it hard enough.
It's about making it hard enough. If you can do 50 push-ups easily, then no, standard push-ups are not enough resistance for you to build muscle. But if you elevate your feet or slow down the tempo, like taking 5 seconds to lower yourself down, or do variations that make 10 reps truly difficult, then you are absolutely providing a sufficient stimulus for muscle growth.
There was a phrase in the source material that I absolutely loved. It described muscle as being metabolically expensive.
It's a great mental model. Think of your body as a house. Fat tissue is like a storage shed out back. It just sits there. It doesn't need heating.
Yeah.
It doesn't need electricity. It's very low maintenance.
Right.
Muscle tissue is like a high-end gaming PC running complex simulations 24/7. It requires a constant supply of power just to idle.
This is the Netflix burn concept.
Right. If you build more muscle, even just 5 or 10 pounds of it, you are permanently increasing your resting metabolic rate, your RMR. So literally, when you are sitting on the couch watching Netflix, you are burning more calories all day, every day than you would if you had less muscle. It turns your body into a less efficient, more calorie-hungry machine.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. I've seen some of the debunking videos online saying that a pound of muscle only burns something like 6 extra calories a day. Is it really enough to make a difference?
You're right to bring that up. The old myth of a pound of muscle burns 50 extra calories a day is a wild exaggeration. It's much closer to 6 to 10 calories per pound at rest. So no, adding 5 pounds of muscle isn't going to let you eat an extra pizza every day.
Okay.
But that's not the whole story. The real metabolic magic of muscle isn't just the passive calorie burn, it's what it does with glucose. It's a glucose disposal agent.
Glucose disposal. Explain that.
Muscle is the primary sink for blood sugar in your body. It's like a giant sponge. When you eat carbohydrates, that sugar enters your bloodstream. If you have active, healthy, insulin-sensitive muscle tissue, that sugar gets soaked up by the muscles to be stored as glycogen for future fuel.
So it takes the sugar out of your blood.
It clears it out efficiently. Now, what happens if you don't have much muscle or your muscle is insulin resistant?
The sink is too small or it's clogged.
The sink is clogged. That sugar has nowhere to go. It stays circulating in your bloodstream for longer. Your insulin levels have to spike higher and stay higher to try and force it into cells. And eventually the liver has to deal with that excess sugar. And what does it do? It converts it into triglycerides and stores it. Guess where?
As visceral fat.
As visceral fat.
Yeah.
So muscle is your metabolic armor. It protects you. It gives you a metabolic buffer. It allows you to handle carbohydrates without immediately storing them as dangerous belly fat.
That is a much more compelling reason to do push-ups than just burning 6 extra calories. It's about managing your blood sugar and insulin sensitivity.
100%. It's about hormonal health.
But speaking of specific exercises, we have to address the elephant in the room, or maybe the crunch in the room. Spot reduction.
Ah, yes, the myth that simply refuses to die.
Every January, every magazine cover, do these 5 crunch variations to melt belly fat, blast your abs in 10 days. And I want to believe it so bad. It makes intuitive sense. If I work the area, the fat right there should burn right.
It's intuitive, yes. But physiologically, it's completely false. The science is absolutely unequivocal here. You cannot spot reduce fat.
So break it down for us. What actually happens if I do 1,000 crunches a day?
If you do 1,000 crunches a day, you will have very, very strong abdominal muscles. You will likely have incredible endurance in your rectus abdominis. But if you have a layer of visceral and subcutaneous fat covering them, nobody, including you, is ever going to see them.
So why doesn't the body just take the fat from right on top of the stomach to fuel the stomach muscles doing the work?
Because fat mobilization is a systemic process, not a local one. When you exercise and need energy, your brain sends out hormonal signals, adrenaline, cortisol, that travel throughout your entire body. Those hormones tell fat cells all over your body to release triglycerides into the bloodstream to be used for energy.
So it's like a community pool. You can't just take a bucket of water out of the deep end and expect the water level to only drop in the deep end.
That is the perfect analogy. The water level drops evenly across the entire pool. Your body will pull fat from wherever it is genetically programmed to pull it from first. For many people, that means you'll lose fat from your face, your arms, or your legs long before you start to lose it from your belly or hips.
So doing endless crunches to try and lose belly fat is a complete waste of time.
It's a waste of time for fat loss, yes. It's great for core strength, which is important for other reasons. But to see your abs, you must reduce your total body fat percentage through that high protein, high fiber caloric deficit and that systemic metabolic training we just discussed. It's a visual trick. You have to reveal the abs by removing the layer on top. You don't create them by burning the fat directly above them.
That is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but it saves a lot of wasted time and effort doing sit-ups on the floor.
It creates focus. Focus on the big engine, the large muscle groups like your legs and your back. Doing squats burns infinitely more calories and has a bigger metabolic impact than doing crunches.
Okay, so we have the nutrition framework dialed in, protein and fiber. We have the training framework, HIIT for the afterburn and resistance training for the glucose sink. But the source material is very clear that all of this, all the grilled chicken and push-ups in the world, might be completely useless if we ignore the third pillar.
The silent killers, stress and sleep.
This is where I think people really get tripped up. They treat diet and exercise as the only two variables in the equation. You hear it all the time. I'm doing everything right. I'm eating clean. I'm working out. Why isn't the scale moving?
And that is a fatal error in thinking. You can have the most perfect diet and the most scientifically designed workout plan, but if your internal biochemistry, your hormones, are actively fighting you, you will not lose that stubborn visceral fat. In fact, you might even gain it.
So let's talk about stress first.
Right.
We all have it. Modern life is inherently stressful. So why does my boss yelling at me or being stuck in traffic make me fat?
It all comes back to a hormone called cortisol.
The stress hormone.
The primary stress hormone. It's a critical part of our fight-or-flight response. Evolutionarily, this system was designed to help us survive an acute threat, like running away from a lion.
Right.
Cortisol's job is to mobilize energy fast. It dumps sugar into your bloodstream so your muscles have immediate fuel to sprint or fight.
But I'm not running from a lion. I'm sitting in a stressful Zoom meeting.
Exactly. Your body is having this ancient primal stress response. You have this massive mobilization of energy, this flood of blood sugar, but you're sedentary. You're not burning it off. And here's the specific, crucial link to our topic. Visceral fat tissue has a significantly higher density of cortisol receptors than subcutaneous fat does.
Wait, say it again. The fat itself is listening for cortisol.
Yes. The fat cells in your belly have more docking stations for cortisol than fat cells elsewhere. It's like a magnet. When cortisol levels are chronically high, your body gets a powerful, specific signal to store any excess energy as fat in the abdominal region.
So it's a directed signal.
It's a directed signal. It's a survival mechanism. Your ancient brain thinks, we are under constant threat. We need to store quick access energy right here near the vital organs for the next emergency.
So stress literally tells fat where to go, and it tells it to go to your waistline.
It absolutely does. You could be eating a perfectly healthy salad, but if you're eating it while you're stressed out of your mind, your hormonal environment is priming your body to store the energy from that salad as visceral fat. It's a condition known as the Cushingoid distribution of fat-thin arms and legs, but a large, centralized belly.
That is wild. And honestly, really discouraging, because we can't just quit stress.
No, you can't, but you can manage your response to it. But before we get to the management strategies, we have to look at the other side of the coin, which is just as powerful: sleep.
The sources refer to this as the threshold.
The 5-hour threshold. There's a ton of data on what happens when you consistently get only 5 hours of sleep versus a full 8 hours. And specifically, there was a study from the University of Chicago that was just brutal. They controlled the diet perfectly. Both groups ate the exact same number of calories.
Okay, so food is not a variable here.
Food is not a variable. The only difference was sleep. And what happened?
Tell me.
The group that was sleep deprived, the 5-hour group, they still lost weight. But over half of the weight they lost came from lean muscle mass, not from fat.
Ouch. So a lack of sleep makes your body literally eat its own muscle for fuel.
It becomes catabolic, it panics, it holds on to its fat stores for dear life and starts burning your metabolically expensive muscle instead. That is the absolute worst case scenario for body composition. But it gets even worse. We have to talk about appetite.
The late night munchies.
It's hormonal chaos. Two key appetite-regulating hormones flip in exactly the wrong direction. First, you have ghrelin. This is known as the hunger hormone. It's produced in your stomach, and it tells your brain, go eat. When you are sleep-deprived, ghrelin levels spike.
So you are physically, chemically hungrier.
Voraciously hungrier. And not just for anything. You specifically crave high-energy, high-sugar, high-fat carbohydrates. Your brain is tired. It's desperate for quick fuel. But at the exact same time, your levels of leptin crash.
And leptin is the opposite.
Leptin is the fullness hormone. It's produced by your fat cells, and it's the signal that tells your brain, okay, we've had enough energy, we're satisfied, you can stop eating now.
So let me get this straight. The gas pedal for hunger is floored to the metal, And the brake lines for fullness have been completely cut.
Exactly. You are biologically programmed to be driving 100 miles an hour toward the donut shop with absolutely no brakes. The source material puts it perfectly. Sleep
Yeah.
deprivation literally biologically programs you to overeat the following day. It is not a lack of willpower, it is a hormonal mandate.
That is such a relieving thing to hear, honestly, because people beat themselves up. I was so good all day, and then at 10 p.m. I ate a pint of ice cream. It's not that I'm weak, it's that I was chemically compromised from the night before.
You were set up to fail by your own biology. And fixing the sleep fixes the hormones, which fixes the appetite.
And there's one more layer to the sleep piece, isn't there, regarding insulin?
Yes! This is terrifying. Just a few nights of partial sleep deprivation, even sleeping 6 hours instead of 8, can induce a state of temporary prediabetes in healthy young people. Your cells become insulin resistant.
Just from a few bad nights of sleep.
Yes. So even if you eat clean the next day, your body can't process that glucose efficiently. Your blood sugar stays higher, your insulin stays higher, leading to more fat storage.
It's a vicious cycle.
Hmm.
You don't sleep, so you crave sugar. You eat sugar, but your body can't process it, so it stores it as belly fat. The belly fat causes inflammation, which can disrupt sleep patterns.
That is the loop from hell, and that is the loop we are trying to break.
So we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've defined the enemy, that toxic, metabolically active visceral fat.
Check.
We've fixed the food, high protein for top and satiety, high fiber for the gut and the microbiome.
Check.
We've set up the home gym HIIT for the afterburn, resistance training for the glucose sink, and we've highlighted the massive importance of the lifestyle factors, stress and sleep, as the ultimate hormonal regulators.
It's a comprehensive system. You can't just pull one lever.
It really is. But let's bring this all home. The listener wants a plan. They don't want to have to carry a biology textbook to the grocery store. Let's synthesize all of this into the Science of Shred protocol. The sources break this down into a really simple 3-step action plan.
Let's simplify it. Actionable steps.
Step 1, nutrition. What's the one thing to remember?
Prioritize protein. And if you want a specific actionable metric from the research, and this is the number to write down, aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight.
Goal body weight. That is a crucial distinction, because if someone weighs 300 pounds, eating 300 grams of protein is, well, it's a full-time job.
It's incredibly difficult and it's unnecessary. If you weigh 300 but your healthy, realistic goal weight is 180 pounds, then you should aim for 180 grams of protein. That gives you all the satiety and the teeth benefits without forcing you to eat 10 chicken breasts a day.
And on the fiber front, what's the number?
Just aim for 30 plus grams a day. Don't get too bogged down in the details. Just focus on adding leafy greens, vegetables, legumes, and maybe some oats or berries to every single meal. Think volume.
Okay. Step 2, movement.
Move daily. The specific target that the science supports for consistency is just 20 minutes. We are not asking for 2 hours in the gym, 20 minutes of intentional movement.
And this could be mixed up, right? It doesn't have to be the same thing every day.
Ideally, it should be. Alternate days. One day, do a HIIT session, sprints, burpees, jump rope, something that gets you out of breath to spike that metabolic rate.
And the next day?
The next day, do your bodyweight strength work. Push-ups, squats, lunges, rows with a band. Focus on building that glucose sink. And on your rest days, just walk. Walking is the most underrated fat loss tool in existence.
Because it actively lowers cortisol.
It does. It's active recovery. It gets you outside. It manages stress. It's a win-win.
Okay, and the final piece, step 3, recovery.
Sleep 7+ hours. And I know everyone wants to say, but I can operate on 6, or I'm fine on 5. You can operate, but you cannot optimize. If your specific goal is to lose visceral fat, 7 hours is the non-negotiable floor.
And the tactical tip here, because just telling someone to sleep more is easier said than done.
The number one tactical tip is to remove all screens for 1 full hour before you plan to go to bed.
The blue light issue.
It's the blue light, yes, that kills your natural melatonin production, but it's also the dopamine hit. Scrolling social media or watching an action movie keeps your brain in a state of high arousal. You need to actively downregulate. Read a boring book, stretch, listen to calm music, meditate. Give your brain a chance to wind down so you don't wake up with sky-high ghrelin and a cortisol spike.
It sounds so simple when you lay it out like that: protein, movement, sleep. But it really is about consistency with the simple things over intensity with the complicated things, isn't it?
That is the entire game. It's about aligning your biology with your goals. You cannot fight your hormones and expect to win. You have to work with them.
We started this whole deep dive by talking about hacks. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the real hack is just taking the time to understand how the machine actually works.
That's it.
It's not a pill. It's not some magic tea. It's understanding that your body is an incredibly complex engine, and you have to give it the right fuel, the right maintenance, and the right downtime. You have to tune it correctly.
That's exactly it. While all those quick fix hacks are so tempting, the peer-reviewed science offers a reliable, repeatable path. It might not be as flashy as some magic powder, but it actually works. And frankly, it's incredibly empowering. It means you aren't a victim of your metabolism, you are the manager of it.
And it forces you to look at the whole picture, not just the food on your plate.
Absolutely. If we want to connect this to the bigger picture, it's about finally realizing the deep interconnectedness of our health. A stressful day at work or a bad night's sleep is just as physiologically detrimental to your waistline as eating a bad meal. You can't silo these things.
You can't be healthy in the gym and unhealthy in the bedroom, in terms of sleep, I mean.
Good clarification. Yes. Everything matters.
Yeah.
Your stress management practice is a weight loss tool. Your pillow is a weight loss tool. Your grocery list is a medical prescription. It's all one integrated system.
That is a powerful thought to end on. Well, there you have it. The science of tread. No magic, just biology. Stick to the science and the results will follow. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Keep learning.